Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the FTCR Sonic and the Black Knight LP. We're now joined by our average guest, Solvo.
Yes, I am the most average of all guests.
Ah, Sir Solvo, you made it.
Sir Solvo, Knight of Bad Tweets, I guess.
Night of getting haters on Twitter.
I've always wanted to be a sir. No, this actually isn't true.
I don't. Why do you think? Why do you think he jumps on this wagon? Surely he'd be faster for him to just run.
I don't know, how adept is he at running backwards?
He's pretty good if we're to believe the opening to Sonic Heroes or Sonic X. He can run pretty good backwards.
Yeah, this is dumb because you could just outrun these guys.
Pretty much.
I mean, in Heroes he was on like a flat plane, but there are trees around here, so he could smack into something.
I'm just glad this horse is just programmed so it doesn't run into trees, because that happens all the time. Please buy Zelda U.
I will say it does. Those sections do offer a nice little. What happened to the horse? The horse just ran away.
Stupid horse.
But Chris, if you wanted to quickly go over a few more of the mechanics of the game, just because we did it in the last 2 seconds of the last part.
So this game, where to begin?
The beast! The beast!
This game kind of tries to keep to some of the typical Sonic conventions. Rings are floating yellow Chow Head fairies.
Chowhead.
You know, I mean, why not? Okay, I made it. Red Chowhead fairies give you Soul Surge gauge shit. Blue Chowhead fairies let you run fast for a little bit. Typical gameplay is running forward. You have the jump. You can go backwards sometimes, but this isn't really meant for that. And you're just going to wave your arm around a lot and beat up really looking bad guys. And that's Sonic and the Black Knight's basic gameplay in a nutshell. You can also trade with townsfolk for useless items, and they're really happy.
Oh, so all the townsfolk look like mutants.
See, here I thought it was stupid for Sonic Boom to replace all of the conventional Sonic stage objects, but here in Black Knight, everything is fairies.
Well, to be fair, Black Knight does have a mode called Legacy Mode, where they do replace all the fairies with actual rings, springs, and egg porn.
Is that a mode or a few stages?
Well, it's a mode. It's a mode which worked for a few stages. Isn't the whole game, but like I like the fact that they at least did that. You know.
Yeah, it just seems a little bit forced because the only way you discern the difference between those objects is by their color, and I don't think that's very good design.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's
Dun, dun,
it's
dun.
Sonic.
It's Sonic. I will say again, I think this is one of Jason Griffith's best performances as Shadow.
It sounds different in this game though. Not complaining. It's just kind of weird.
does.
It's very gravelly.
He sounds
It
sounds
does,
a lot.
yeah.
Oh, he sounds a lot older in this game, as both Sonic and Shadow. Like I don't buy Sonic as a teenager when Jason voices him, but I still think he does a damn good job.
Yeah, I've been told many a time, mostly by a certain friend of mine, that this is Griffith's best Shadow performance before he got replaced. And I can agree with that, because in Shadow the Hedgehog the game, he was way too bored sounding most of the time. And then in '06, he kind of went overboard, so I would
You're
consider
going
this a good
straight to
balance.
hell.
So yeah, I think he balanced out his voice well in this game.
I will say, I said it in the last part, but this song, Through the Fire, hands down one of my favorite Crush 40 tracks.
Really?
Freaking love this.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love this song, man. This song's
I'd call
badass.
this one of their not worst, but
Yeah.
cheesiest.
I actually really like Fight the Night. I wish it was a longer track, actually.
That same here. When I got the soundtrack of Black Knight, I was hoping they'd do extended versions of Through the Fire and Fight the Night, but they didn't. So I cried myself asleep.
Well, I mean, that was a short boss fight, so maybe it fits. 'Cause we didn't even get to talk about
Which
it.
they do make several points at the fact. I mean, again, this is another thing in terms of the design of the game, which I appreciate. They make several references to the fact that Lancelot is the strongest of the Knights of the Round Table, but because he's the first of them you fight for whatever reason, obviously they couldn't program him to be the strongest. So what they did is that once you clear the game, there was an extra mission called Lancelot Returns, where he is like the hardest of them all. Which again, so it's small things like that which make me appreciate Black Knight.
The ultimate knight form.
I want to jump into this lake.
God, I wanna throw So into this lake and keep her head underwater until the bubbles stop.
Damn.
That was the worst thing you've ever said, So, and you've said some terrible shit over the years.
Thank you. And you haven't even known me for years, so I'm flattered.
Well, technically I have. It's 2015. I've known you since 2014. That's years. Suck it, scrub.
Sonic's laying it smooth on her, man.
He's a smooth criminal. They're drinking tea. And that's
Sonic
horrible.
gives this Amy more attention than the actual Amy could ever hope to get, which is kind of crazy. Like, he puts his arm around her. Amy would die for that. I would die for that.
You know
Sonic
why? Don't start that shit with her in this. I'll never hear the end of it. But again, there's like I would say in terms of its story, this is probably one of the more thought out in terms of its plot progression.
How many plot points am I holding up right now?
One. Although I will say that they give this kind of you have 3 days to do X, but if you I don't get how they use 3 days in what they're about to do.
Really, it's more like 3
Something,
hours.
something
with this
Majora's
game.
Mask.
Pretty much, it is Majora's Dawn of the first day. I will say to go back to a point that Chris made earlier about the enemy designs, they do kind of look like rejected Kingdom Hearts bad guys. The knights from the underworld that you have to fight. They're kind of generic
So
looking.
that's Unleashed and this game. I guess they were just on a Kingdom Hearts kick.
Yeah, well, at least Unleashed had the robots, which didn't really look like Kingdom Hearts villains. But yeah, it is kind of hard to do kind of demon-esque things without looking generic.
Or without looking too demonic.
Yeah, which I would say I actually think the alien designs from Shadow are fairly original looking. I didn't mind those, but yeah, these just kind of like they're just kind of
They're there.
They fit for the style of the game. I mean, a lot of the design choices fit because of the setting and because of say the
Yeah.
story. Like say all the fair. I get why they didn't use rings or springs because that they would kind of really ruin with the design aesthetic of the game, and I'm fine with that. Just like these guys, it's kind of like demon knight guys. But if they were using any other game rather than Black Knight, I'd be like, no.
Yeah. Actually, I think the design of the Dark Gaia creatures in Unleashed was really good. I think they managed to stick out and look relatively memorable.
Somebody here had to like him.
I love that Sonic can get caught in a bear trap.
A hedgehog trap.
Silly Sonic, you're not a bear.
City Sonic. Bear traps are for kids.
What the fuck?
I mean, he's like 15, so...
Yeah, that still kind of counts as a kid. So what is your personal experience with this game?
Me?
The other
Well,
soul.
Your name is Soul, isn't it?
I didn't hear you say so, I'm sorry. Honestly... Honestly, I don't have very much. I believe there was a point at which, I definitely got Secret Rings long before I got Black Knight. Of course, it came out a few years before. I'm pretty sure I got Secret Rings not long after it came out, because that was right after I got my first Wii as well. But at some point I lost the Wii, and a few years later got another one, and there was a point in which I picked up both Secret Rings and Black Knight at the same time. I don't remember if that was my first time getting Black Knight. I think it was my first time owning it, but not my first time playing it. Either way, I didn't have it for very long. I don't think I ever beat the game, and I ended up selling both of them along with several other things to GameStop, and that's how I learned that selling things to GameStop is dick.
Alright, IGN, calm it down.
What?
Either way, I think a lot of design aspects of the game are generally pretty strong, but I think the the thing that it suffers from most is the gameplay. I honestly, especially after all of my experience with No More Heroes, which I think has a very good control scheme, in contrast, this game is, in my opinion, a kind of horrible waggle fest that tires my arm out after like 2 levels.
Well, that's because you're a puny weakling. But I do agree with that. I do think, as Chris said before, I think they should have. I mean, I get why it is a waggle fest because it's a Wii game, but I think they should have had an option for like press A to sword swing. You know.
I love how I'm just trying to inch these guys out.
It, first of all, does bother me when people go, or when developers would oversaturate motion controls in Wii games out of what seems like obligation, but I feel like even if you're going to include motion controls out of obligation, there are better ways to do it. Like before, No More Heroes, you use your normal buttons to attack, but you use a swipe to do finishers once you depleted an enemy's health bar, and I thought that was a very good system. I think in this game, it would have been plausible for you to use the normal buttons for attacks, and for special things like the soul gauge attacks, you could be using waggles instead.
That'd be great.
It is weird because I say most of the Sonic Wii games had options for like GameCube controller support. I think the only two that didn't were Distant Secret Rings, which is a shame because maybe not so much of Secret Rings because of how Secret Rings' terrible design choice of constantly moving forward may not have translated well to a GameCube controller. But if they had removed the waggle support, I think this game would be a lot more enjoyable if you could use say like the good old classic GameCube controller.
Easily.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like this game had a lot of good ideas, and I don't inherently have a problem with the sword concept, but I really don't feel like they executed it the best, especially since they went out of their way to make the homing attack practically useless. And I feel like it would have been better if they set the game up in such a way so that the sword felt practical enough that you would want to use that, and maybe also the homing attack in succession.
Oh, it's weird to say you've got a problem with Sonic and a Sword. Apparently, the game's director Tetsuo Katano,
I think that's it.
I pronounced that terribly. Had said that apparently from when he first started playing Sonic games, and when they first came out, one of the things he wanted to see was Sonic with a sword, and he had no idea why. He just always felt that from the beginning, Sonic's speed would go well with swordplay.
So this game is just fan fiction.
Pretty much, this is the best fan fiction I've ever seen.
The sword concepts.
No,
Go ahead,
you
Saul.
can't tell me. You can't tell me that the Professor Pickle fanfiction isn't your favorite.
until somebody makes a game of that, so then this is
I
better.
can't wait.
I'll get back to you in a year.
Chris, do you want to explain this? The blacksmith, how that works?
I could. I wish the game did a little better. But anyway, it's gone now. Woo! We don't have to worry about it. Where to start? So, Sonic can equip items, which is a little RPG-ish. Stuff like immune to paralysis or poison, or when you die, you come back with 5 rings in your count, stuff like that. And there's also a style system, I guess I'll call it that.
So it seems to me like a preliminary version of the skills from Generations, or a watered down version of the skill set system from Secret Rings.
Yeah, pretty
Well,
much. Yeah.
I would say the skill set from Secret Rings was really convoluted.
Yeah.
I would say it's streamlined, but for me, it's a lot better than the one in Secret Rings.
What it essentially...
I would say the skill system in Generations was basically the best way to refine what Secret Rings started, because the thing is, if you get enough skills in Secret Rings, the gameplay gets kind of unreasonably ridiculous. But as a contrast, some of the speed enhancing and acceleration enhancing skills in Generations, I feel like actually greatly benefit the gameplay, and I actually never really play those levels without them because I feel like they're really well balanced.
I was going to say, we never actually said what skills do in this game yet before talking about other games. So
Sorry.
there's 3 styles. I already forgot the names. I think there's Knight, Cavalier, and Paladin.
Paladin.
I think
yeah.
Knight is the balanced style, so it's just general, whatever design. Cavalier, I believe, is the one meant for speed. So when you pick,
Yeah.
and then Paladin, I think, is offense, attacks. So when you pick these different styles, your gameplay is slightly geared either way to whatever you picked. If you pick the speed one, Sonic has abilities that do stuff like give him a small boost when he lands and makes him run a little faster. I guess the offense-based one lets you do more damage. I never really messed with that one.
No, we need. You know what? We need Clement here because he knows what about these.
I'll send him a letter through the mail. He might get back in time.
We will hopefully. But yeah, I would say like to go back to the skill set. I'd say the biggest problem Secret Rings had, and one of the best fixes that Black Knight did, was that for some stupid arbitrary reason, Secret Rings starts you off really slow and really basic.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you have to level up to give Sonic speed is stupid as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't particularly like that idea in Unleashed either, but at least you started off ridiculously fast enough that I really couldn't tell the difference between first level speed and whatever the
Oh,
last
yeah.
level speed is.
Mm-hmm.
And this character is clearly not Amy. even though it clearly has Amy Rose's voice, it's clearly not Amy Rose or Lady Nemu, whatever the hell you want to say. I want to say the upcoming music track, "To the Rescue," "A Night's Way." I think it has this kind of really over the top, kind of cheesy '80s guitar, which sounds it's so sexy.
I'd say that you're the only one in this call that remembers what the music actually sounds like.
I get it. I really love this soundtrack. It's actually one of my favorite Sonic OSTs. The bit with the guitars kick in, the pow 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 pow. I love it. It's like
come-
it's like the theme song to a sports game show. It's fantastic.
I mean, that kid could have been anyone. Come on,
that could have been
all
me.
women sound the same.
Dude, that's racist. You think everyone from England sounds the same? You racist sack of crap.
Well, actually, I said women, but sure.
Same thing. Women, British people, same thing.
I wish they were the same, damn it.
Hey, let's reach the goal. All right, let's just put our racism aside and just reach the goal. We can do this.
I wish if Ted was here, he'd be loving this grass. Better than Hyrule Warriors confirmed.
I don't know. I'd rate it a 6 out of 10. Too much grass.
7. We already made that joke in the previous part.
Yeah, Soul. How'd you not
I
know?
don't care. Yeah, how did I not know?
It's not 6 out of 10. It's 7.8 out of 10. Scrub.
I mean, I was clearly there in that first part. You didn't see me watching from the mountain?
So are we gonna get a Dynasty Warriors Sonic crossover? 'Cause I just thought about that, and I think I'd be okay with it at this point, honestly.
I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with it if they learned how to refine this type of gameplay. Because honestly, again, I think this was a really good idea, but they apparently thought it was fine that he has to stop for something every 20 seconds.
Well, that's kind of typical of a lot of Sonic games. Like, it's the fact that you run fast for a bit and then stop to do either some platforming or fight an enemy. It's kind of typical for standard Sonic gameplay. I mean, you could argue that's the series as a whole should stop doing that, but this doesn't stand out to me as decidedly un-Sonic-like in that regard.
That last enemy type we just faced, I think, is really stupid, though. I just don't...
What's that?
That
Which
one
one?
that grabs you and you have to move the analog stick repeatedly, same motion, same song and dance, like 3 or 4 times to defeat him. I just don't get it.
Yeah, other Sonic games do that, but I think this is the point where it becomes really pace-breaking.
I mean, to go quickly off what you said about like a Dynasty Warriors game, it's not the exact same thing, but I believe it's was it Monster Hunter 4? There is like a skin where like one of the animals looks like Sonic and it's giving Caliburn, which I think is pretty sweet. I'm surprised they remembered it. And again, we talked about this in our Lost World LP. I still think they should have given him Caliburn in the Zelda stage.
Yeah, or at least had him show up somewhere.
Even if like he didn't, obviously they wouldn't have programmed in sword swinging, but even if it just held him, that would have been cool.
If only.
Am I the only one who finds something extremely phallic about those giant statues?
I don't see what you mean. They're just swords.
I meant the giant statues of stone, you dope, not the swords.
No, I mean they're shaped like swords. Nothing phallic.
Again, I want to know who designed the townspeople. Like, is this what the Japanese think English people look like? Like,
God damn, that's racist.
it's like Kenny from South Park. Like, what the hell, man? If like Kenny from South Park had a skin disease, that's what all the townspeople in this game look like.
We should mention that you can hit the townspeople, but you do get a finger wagging and you do lose some points.
See, Sonic's cool with murdering people. I want to know what all these people are doing, just like out in the open with all these like demons from the underworld, just like roaming around. It's weird because the demon, it's like the underworld knights won't ever attack the townspeople, just you.
Yeah, I mean, they're used to it. They get raided like every Tuesday, so, it's cool.
It was simpler times.
These people live in medieval England. They're used to just being killed on a daily basis.
600 followers. What the fuck? Who is it?
He said the word knucklehead, which is a reference to SA1. I like that.
Oh, Sonic's face looks so weird here.
There's no way they could be referencing SA1 here. I have no idea we could give you that impression.
Why doesn't he just walk around him? Like, run away. You don't have to. You're wasting time here, Sonic. You could be saving those people.
You can run real fast. It's your thing.
He's blocked by those rocks.
Fucking Stonehenge.
He can run real fast with his jetpacks on. With Caliburn out, he's one tough
The
hedgehog.
dragon's treasure. Well, now that you mention it, actually, that sounds alright.
I will say that there's the script for this. There's a lot more reference to death in this than most other Sonic games. Especially the cutscene we're gonna get after Chris is the cutscene in this part, or does it start part 3?
Yeah, I end this
After
when
this fight.
Dwayne dies. In the cutscene. So, rival fights are basically the most waggle-festy part of this game. On these normal fights, before the post-game, you can pretty much just wave like an idiot and you'll probably beat them.
There's actually you can actually unlock videos that show you fighting the Knights of the Round Table, and they show you like destroying Gwen in like 3 seconds. It's like the game shows you how to do it.
Someone cared enough to be super good at this game. That's not Clement or Donnie.
Only death can remove this stain upon my honor.
I just want to remind everyone, Sonic and the Black Knight involves a scene where Knuckles tries to commit suicide. Like, let that sink in for a moment here.
And then it's followed up with Colors, where the deepest we get is Baldy McNose hair.
I'll take Bodie McNose here over I'm going to slice my neck off with a giant sword.
He looked into the future and saw the jumping exploit in Rise of Lyric and just said, enemy now. Just forget it.
I can't believe that Black Knight actually made Knuckles' shoes look stupid. Good job. Good job.
It's from the Lego Knights set, actually.
But at the end of this, at the end of that, anything you wanna end on? Anything you wanna plug?
Yes, in 2016, look forward to Pickle and the White Mayo. Coming soon.
Oh.
I forgot I did that.
Also, I do music and Twitter and stuff. I'm sure they'll put that in the description because Gareth Senpai is just so nice.
Who?
Only death can remove this stain upon my honor.